Just gotta make sure this works again. I'm not great at introductions. Susan Friend, licensing specialist from Red Rock Community College. Also an incredibly good 3-point basketball shooter. Okay, I think that's it. It's actually all of our staff, teacher, assistant teacher, classmates, administrative, family, certain people, yeah, and kitchen staff over there, so it's pretty much everybody. Yeah, we required it for like all of our staff. One more minute. And just, I put this here so that it doesn't want to look that way. It'll just kind of follow you this way. As long as you kind of stay back here. If you get like this way, then the box will make the right. So you can feel free to move, but it's kind of,
Okay, and what is it?
It's an owl.
This main device?
There's a camera up here at the top that's gonna like record, and there'll be a little.
What's gonna watch me?
Yeah.
I better be on my best behavior.
That's right.
Wow. Yeah, same documentation. I'm always a fan, but wow. Now it's on me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it.
Yeah, like I say, mostly you don't see it, but it's mostly like the big screen is the PowerPoint, and then a little screen will just kind of show what this is picking up. So, okay.
Do I need to get a round table?
Round table. Back to the round table.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for being on time, coming back. Really appreciate that. It's 2:30 and we'll get started now with Susan Flood. She is from licensing from Red Rocks Community College. So let's give Susan Flood a hand. Woohoo!
All right, well, thank you guys for having us. My colleague is supposed to be here, but she's running a little late, so we'll just get started. So, a lot of you have probably seen me in your centers. You also might see Brittany Kilgore, and she's going to be coming, hopefully. Alicia Hall is another licensing specialist that you might run across. She's on vacation, so unfortunately she wasn't able to join us today. One thing I want to really make sure that you guys know and understand is licensing is really here to partner with you and to help you understand licensing rules and regs. We are not here to get you. We're not here to get you in trouble. We want you to be successful and have a successful program. And in doing that, that is following the licensing rules and regs. And a lot of the licensing rules and regs are really aligned with your performance standards. So if you're following your performance standards, you should be following licensing rules and regs. I would say that your performance standards are probably higher than licensing. Licensing, the bare minimum of what you have to do to be in compliance with the state and to operate a license. It's not the same as quality. So you may hear when you ask questions about different things, you may hear different answers from your licensing specialist versus maybe a coach who may be coaching you to quality standards. We are a bare minimum. So that's why there's that difference. And there also might be a difference in the answers that you get from your administrators than from me, is because your administrators can have their own policies and procedures, and those can be stricter than licensing. So I just want you guys to recognize those differences and those layers, and know that just because you may be hearing different answers doesn't mean that any of those answers are wrong. So that's what I just wanted to start out with. I'm hoping that this will really be a conversation, between us and you and me, and not me just lecturing at you. So if you have any questions about licensing, now is your time to ask them. So our outcomes for today, hopefully will be that you'll understand the current rules for licensing centers and common violations. I'm not gonna sit here and rattle off all the licensing rules and regs. We have a great website, the Colorado Department of Early Childhood website, which has all the licensing rules on them, under our licensing rules and regs section. Hopefully you have seen that website. If you haven't seen that website, please learn it. It has every answer that you need to have, in terms of licensing. Also on that website, in the licensing rules and regs section, is what's called an administrative guide. And, for your specialists out there, I always let them know that, go to that administrative guide first and questions about the rule. Not all rules are listed in that administrative guide, but a lot of the common questions or misconceptions about rules are addressed in it. And it's a living, breathing document. Don't try to print it, I think it's around 1,000 pages, you'll just be drawing a whole bunch of trees. And it's updated as we learn misconceptions or confusion or all that type of stuff. So just always go to that live document, and it explains the rule. It gives the verbiage of the rule, it gives clarification of the rule, and then if we do have resources that may help your program, there's links to different resources with it, so it's really handy. At the end of the session, we'll help you understand resources available for you to help interpret the rules and regs. Again, that's that administrative guide. We also have a Google Doc folder, that if you go into our resources section on our website, it has, each of the rule sets separately and has a folder for each one. Like for your health specialists or your education specialists, they may go in there to download an audit form to audit your files to make sure that all the documents that you need in your file are in there. There is also, for you guys in the classroom, there's a great health and safety checklist. I know as the Head Start program, you guys probably already have those, but with the lens of licensing, there's a health and safety checklist in there. There's also a great list on what what's needed to become a director, what you need to have to be early childhood teacher, and then also all the trainings. And the sheet for the trainings is really nice, because it tells you what trainings you're required to have, and then it also tells you, how often the frequency that training needs to be done. So it's just a great resource tool, and if you guys, have your own hands on that, as teachers and aides, and, that will really help your administration, making sure that you have all the trainings that you need when you need to have them. And it's a great empowering tool, for you guys to, kind of be in control of your own destiny and your own, performance as an employee. So, utilize those forms. They're not just for administration. You guys can use them too. It's a Google folder that's open to the public, so anybody can get on it. And then hopefully we'll answer all your licensing questions. Here is a lot of resources, again, to help you. The, Colorado's Secretary of State, that is the legal place where you get and download the rules. If you want to get the legal version, reach out to me, send me an email, and I'll teach you how to browse and pull them up. But that's where all the administrative rules for all the agencies in Colorado are housed, is on the Secretary of State website. If you go to the Colorado Department of Early Childhood and go onto our website, under rules and regs, we have what's called the printable versions. Those are still the same rules, they're no different, it's just not where they're legally housed. So the legal ones are on the Secretary of State website, that's really the only difference. Health Department guidelines, you guys as a child care center also get inspected by the health department. We often get asked a lot of health department questions. We don't like to step on anybody's toes. So we'll always defer you back to the health department. They should be answering those questions, just as the health department shouldn't be answering any licensing questions. But there is the website to get those health department standards that you're required to follow as well. How many of you guys have a copy of the rules and regs in your centers? And do you know where they are? Okay, so y'all should know where your rules and regs are. You sign a statement on what we call the signature page, saying that you've read the rules and regs, that you have been trained on them, and that you will follow them. That's a legal document. I know as Head Start employees, I don't need to preach to you what a legal document is. You know that very well through performance standards. So if you don't have a copy of the rules and regs, please talk to your supervisors and make sure that you have copies of those, because y'all should have read them. There is general rules, which is the general rule set applies to all licensing types. There is the rules regulating child care centers, which is the rule, kind of like I'd say the day-to-day operations of your rules. And then there's special activity rule sets. Those three rule sets, you should be reading all three of those. The general rules are kind of more like the legally type rules. It's more about background checks, how to do waivers, and all that kind of legal process. But it also does have emergency preparedness rules in it. But all the day-to-day ones are in the rules regulating child care centers. Resources for home. I've already kind of talked about admin guides. If you get that in a training with me, I kind of go off script a lot and then see that they already have it in PowerPoint. But again, they're on our website in the rules and regs section. And make sure you utilize those, they're really handy. That's the place that I go to when I have a question about it. So it's audience is all of us. Resources for childcare programs, again, on our website you can spend days on our website going deeper and deeper into a lot of resources. There's everything imaginable to find on there. So take some time and go through it. You might be surprised with what you can find. Inspection documents for childcare programs. So all of your reports of inspection are posted on the web through the Colorado Shines website. You can look up your program through Colorado Shines you can see your rating. Most of you guys, I believe, are on from SWAT to a level 4 quality program. And then on there that lists all your reports in this section. So make sure that you read those and know where they're at, direct families to them. We want to be as transparent as possible. You can also find the history of your program there as well, if there's any complaints, any adverse actions, they're on that Colorado Shines website. So now it's your time to participate. Well, when you look at these pictures, what would be a licensing violation? Feel free to just shout out your answers. Okay, so somebody that said all of them, can you tell me what is the violation on each one of them? So A, all the trash is blocking an exit. You have to have free and obstructed egress. This is a big thing. I'm just gonna chime in as you go through. This is a big thing with cots. So when you guys put your kiddos to sleep, make sure that you're not putting the cot in front of the door to exit outside. That's where you guys get caught. B, yeah, so no cords. So, making sure that cords can't wrap around your kiddo's neck, that could be a strangulation hazard. Yeah, a shock. And that's where the most time we see it, right? You guys all do a really good job. And a lot of you are probably building your administration, you're building in physical, facilities. People have probably installed safety outlets in most of your, programs, especially the new ones. But this is what's always gets forgotten, especially under the teacher's desk. So just make sure with those, electrical protectors, surge protectors, that all of them are covered. B? Yeah, so, that's another thing that gets overlooked quite a bit is having a cover on all the cots or mats. We want to make sure that, each cot has a sheet around it.
And E is, to me, would be electrical shock again and strangulation.
Yeah, so the big thing now is, cell phone plugs. Like one part is plugged in and then the open end of the charger doesn't, if it has the phone on it, great. But if it's just sitting there where a kid can stuck on that end of that electrical charger, within kids' reach, that's where a lot of classrooms get dinged on. We want those either up out of reach, unplugged, or plugged into a phone. Do those make sense to everybody? All right. Yeah. I don't always have the answers, but I would assume it's health and safety, so germ, and it's more lines with the health department. We want that sanitized in the sheet. We don't want them just on, just like we don't want children sleeping on the floor, bare floor. So it's sanitation and health. Simple things like that I can answer, but I don't know all the whys, I know the reasons why we have rules. So yeah, these are all the rules numbers that go along with each one of those, potential violations. So again, what's your thoughts? Who said that? All right, tell me why. Just go through the same things again, don't be right.
They could hurt themselves and make the pouch that's there, they can get that. Like that, there's plastic around the end of that, the wipes there, it looks like plastic around there, there's the. um, Shaving cream is.
Yeah, it's gonna say, that bottle's gonna say, keep out of reach of children. How many people use shaving cream to play with their preschoolers? Don't be afraid. A lot of people do. You're not supposed to. There's product out there that says that isn't keep out of reach. So either buy product that doesn't say keep out of reach on it, but Barbasol's gonna say keep out of reach on it. And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be in the teeniest, tiniest print in the hardest place to find on there. So just really make sure that you read your back of your labels. Anything that says keep out of reach is keep out of reach of children. And just because you're sitting there with them doesn't mean it's okay. It's keep out of reach. It's toxic, that's why it's on there. Diaper supplies get overlooked a lot. That is a rule as well, and they're not supposed to be in reach of children. Copper tone, sunscreen, can be, if kids can apply themselves, the older kids, and Brittany, you can tell me what the ACHS starts out, I don't remember off the top of my head. Not five enough. But it can't be accessible to children. So once you put it on, that, sunscreen,
To clarify, that's 5 and up in a school age program. So elementary or school age after school. So if it's 7, if your child care is licensed to 7, and you still have to put it on them yourself.
And Dawn liquid soap needs to, it's gonna say keep out of reach of children. Hand soap, all antibacterial soap is gonna say keep out of reach of children. Ton of product out there that says on the back of soap that can be in reach of children. Again, you just have to read the labels. If it says keep out of reach of children, children should not have access to that product. And then E, what's wrong with E? There's a dull, sorry. Those adult scissors is a licensing violation, so yeah, you guys got 100%. So 222A1B is those diapering supplies. I think you guys mostly.
We use it for the kids, we put the shaving cream on the table for the kids, things like this.
Yeah, so you need to get product that says, that doesn't say keep out of reach of children. It's not the can that's the problem, it's the shaving cream itself is the problem, and it's toxic. So, we don't want them using that.
Sunscreen.
Uh,
Sunscreen sprayed on, are they allowed to do this?
they can touch it, I mean, yeah, they can rub it in. I probably would have them wash their hands after, because that's gonna go straight in their eye and it's gonna burn their eye. Right? Okay.
Just to clarify, so diapers are considered diaper supplies, so keep that in mind when you're doing that, 'cause the stuff in diapers is toxic.
So this is my colleague Ruby. She is your licensing specialist for some of your programs, and you wanna say hi, say hi.
Hi, sorry I'm late, went to the wrong place.
This mostly, is for administration, but it's good for you guys to know this as well, because you have to go and do these background checks. So when you go either to Colorado fingerprinting or Identico as a new employee and you get your fingerprints done, you're gonna need to have certain codes to be able to do that. And Vicky should be able to help you with it wherever Vicky is. She knows what the codes are. And she can give those to you. When you leave work, again, this is more for administration and more for Vicky, and she does a very good job with this. All staff need to have their name removed, from their license. So when you guys get background checks, and I'll use myself as an example, if I was to work for Adams County Head Start and I got a DUI on my drive home from here, and I worked for you guys, Vicky would get notified. And I would get notified as well. And so when you leave employment, we don't want myself or Vicky to know your private information. So we want to get your name removed from our license so that doesn't happen. So the name removal form, also sometimes called a flag removal form, is done as part of your exiting process from employment. Now, if you work at another center, you still need to keep your name attached because so that's not the problem. It's just when you absolutely leave and you no longer work for Head Start, we want to get that flag removal. You guys all need to get a medical statement, and it needs to be signed and dated by a physician. Either within 30 days of the date of employment or 90 days prior. So for all new employees, that should be happening. Hopefully, I don't know how many new employees are here today. Hopefully you're in the works and getting that. But after a new employee, after you get that, you just annually, every year, need to sign off that you're in good health. And it's a self-report. So back in the day, for those of you, and I know a lot of you have worked for Head Start for many, many years, or worked in childcare for many, many years, we used to do it annually. You don't need to do that anymore. You just sign off and you just need to let your employer know of any medical condition, like if you have seizures or something, they don't need to know the down and dirties, but something that might impact you that they need to know for your own safety at work. That's the point of that. Here is that list that I was telling you about trainings and what trainings you need to do. And so one of the questions that was emailed to me to share about is knowing what trainings that you guys need to take and why they're important. All these trainings, especially the annual ones, is the information that we never want you to forget, right? We never want you to forget that you're a mandated reporter and what that means and what your role is. So child abuse and neglect, you need to take that annually. Help your admin team and track that yourself. That's all in PBIS. Make sure you're up to date on all that. Safe sleep, you guys don't have any infants, so you guys don't need to take, unless there's no Head Start program in Adams County that has infants, right? I didn't think so. So you don't have to worry about that because you're not licensed for it. Early intervention and preschool special education, teaching you all about how that works, is a new training. So if you haven't taken that class, you need to take that within 90 days of calendar of employment, and recognizing the impact of bias on early childhood professionals. Make sure you're looking at the title because there's different biases for different workers in PBIS. And the probably biggest mistake that I see is people take the training for the wrong type. You know, like playground safety training, they'll take the one for school age programs instead of childcare centers or da. So pay attention to the titles. Development training, that went into rule a couple of years ago. It's just 1 hour of training. For most of you, I'm sure you've had at least some type of child development training. If you haven't, then you need to take the class we recommend taking is early learning and development guidelines. But it can be any training. If you have taken pyramid, if you've taken EQIT, as long as that training has at least 1 hour in child development. It's very broad of what their training can be. That's kind of more for the person that has never worked in a childcare center before and has no idea, you know, the development range of between a toddler and a preschooler and a school age kid, right? That's kind of the basics. Standard precautions you need to take annually. First aid CPR is every 2 years. Building and physical premises training is another training that often gets overlooked a lot. That's a training that your centers in your program has created themselves. And it teaches you, where the things that are hazardous on your property. So if you're at Sunshine and you're working at Sunshine, you should have the building and physical premises training that's specifically for Sunshine, because where you store chemicals at Sunshine is going to be different than Creekside. And Creekside should have their own training. And that training should identify where everything hazardous is on property, and then how you dispose of biohazards and biocontaminants. Biocontaminants is blood, feces, and urine. So you kind of get hit twice on this because that's also called an exposure plan with standard precautions. And on your certificate, if it's not signed, your staff at that center should be signing off on how you, that you've been trained on your exposure plan. It's really the same thing, how you dispose of and handle blood, feces, and urine. You just don't put that dirty diaper on the floor. There's a specific trash can you put it in. You know, if the kid throws that, you just don't clean it up and put all that contaminant, you know, wherever. You put it in a plastic bag and follow those standard precautions and dump it wherever your administration's telling you to dump it, or you're giving it back to the family. Any other questions so far?
To clarify, if you're afloat and you float from center to center, or you work in 2 centers, or sometimes you transfer from one, you have to have it for each center you work in. So be aware that it's not just one, it's one for each center you work in.
Common violations. Brittany, you want to go over this?
Sure. So some of the common violations we see in classrooms are outlet covers. If they're not safety outlets, make sure that they're covered with outlet covers. A lot of times they are safety outlets, but we always ask just to be sure. Broken toys, that's any broken toys. I don't like to say throw your broken toys away if you can fix them and they're fixable or they're not broken anymore, then don't throw them away. But if they're broken, you cannot have them. That includes toy trucks, cars, with stuffed animals, with padding on your things that you guys use in your classrooms. Glass. Glass would be like breakable cups, dishes, bottles, things like that. I don't think any of y'all are Montessori, but you can get waivers for that if you are. So if you need a waiver, talk to your specialist. Sharp tools. Scissors are the big things I find, and the tape dispensers, as well as the packing tapes, stuff that you guys sometimes use for stuff. Those sharp edges that I see those in lots. choking hazards, marbles, pieces of chalk that are too small, crayons, things that are real baby that did not choke tube. If you don't have a choke tube, you might want to get one because those are very heavy. And then cell phones. I see this a lot. So you already know that. Did you have a question?
Sure, tools. We're at the table, we're doing an activity, we have glue, we have glue sticks, we have tape. Are they not allowed to use the tape dispenser to tape stuff to their paper while we're sitting at the?
If you can get the tape off of the tape dispenser for them, I'm gonna probably be better.
Okay,
So like, they say, hey, can I have a piece of tape? And you, so it's just that hurts also. I don't know if y'all have done that, so don't do that with your kids.
okay, thank you.
Did that make sense? Okay, and
How about the rubber band?
how about what?
Rubber band.
Rubber bands aren't sharp, but
No, it's not sharp, because we had last year, and they told us we had to.
is that because it's a chokeable? I have never seen a rubber band that I have given a study for unless it's just hanging out and it's a chokeable, because it does fit into a choke tube.
Yeah, we had given the kids the kind of things and whatever, and they told us we have to, exactly what they told us we have to, the rubber bands.
That's not, that should be a license.
That's not my license.
Yes.
Oh, the ones that have the pokey things like the. That probably would not have been something I would violation for, so I'm not, I have to see the violations and you probably need to teach specialists, so not that much. But I don't think that rubber bands would be considered a thing I would give a violation.
Is the choke food for preschool age as well, or is it just?
It's for anything under 2.5 years.
Under three.
Under 3, so chokables are under 3. So if you have a classroom that's licensed 2.5 to 7,
They're all three.
oh, well, then this doesn't mean another company,
Oh, wait.
You're all three.
no, but you guys, somebody
Oh, you're
started
At the beginning of the year
Oh,
sometimes.
okay.
So when your guys are 2.5, for that first, sometimes people have them 2.5, and they have to be free by October 1st. So from August to that October 1st, when everybody turns 3, I wouldn't have any chokables in your classroom. Until you're sure that everyone is 3. And your license for 2.5 and all your kids are 3 years old, and we know that, then we don't get violations. But if I say, hey, are your class, do you have any 2.5-year-olds? And you say yes, and I'm gonna do it. Okay, children have to be under the direct supervision of an adult who has been assigned the responsibility. So I'm gonna tell you that this means, let's say you have a class and you have 12 children. One of them gets left on the playground, but your class isn't there, and you see that child, but she doesn't know that child's missing. She's the assigned adult, so you would still need to report that as a lost child, because she's not the assigned, you're not the assigned adult. So it says, I know that sounds confusing, it's not just when you can't see a kiddo and there's nobody there. It's if you're not the assigned adult of those kids, and she leaves the kid out, and you see that kid, and you say, oh, you're supposed to be in with so-and-so, but she has never noticed it. I'm just using you as your girl, this is what happened to me, girl. You have to report that as a lost child. Does that make sense? Because it says the assigned, so people argue that, well, they were outside, but the other class was with them on the other side of the fence. Well, sorry, that wasn't their assigned at all. So that's a lost child. And a lost child is just that, you cannot find your child. Don't know where they are, or you just leave them outside and forget about them. Sometimes people have left kids in classrooms, they go to lunch, they come back, and the kid's still in the classroom, and they didn't notice them. So, does anybody have any questions about that? Pretty black and white. So something I see is as a common violation is not, signing your kids in and out. So if you bring your child in and you sign your child out in, but you bring yours in and you don't sign your child in, the teacher's responsible for making sure that child is signed in. that makes sense. And then verification throughout the day, it's not the head count. It's the name and I see you. And then you mark it down. And we do look for those. So when I come in and I say, how many kids do you have? And you don't know how many kids you have. Oh, we have 13 and really you have 14. Or, oh, we have 13 and really you have 12. And that tells me you're not doing your verification. So make sure that you're either physically marking it down. Some of y'all have an app that you use. A lot of my centers have apps that they just mark down. So we have to be able to say, I want to see your nature-based sheet, and you have to show that to me. Any questions? So staff must directly supervise and maintain staff-to-child ratio during special activities that occur when an outside vendor or provider comes in. So if you have a puppet show coming in and you're in one big room, you still have to maintain your ratios and you still have to do your supervision. So I'm going to use you guys again. I'm sorry. I know you guys didn't, so you are in trouble. So you have your 15 kids, your max group size is 30. You and your 8 are responsible for your 15, you and your 8 are responsible for your 15. And then you have to make sure that you're doing your need base and your head count as well. So the other thing that I see is, people will be out on the playground and, let's say Susan and I are on the playground and I'm talking to Susan and Susan's talking to me and I'm not watching back here. That's a lack of supervision. So walk around your playground, make sure your eyes are on your playground. I don't know how many times I have seen 2 staff members just cutting away and kids are over in the corner fighting or pulling hair or biting each other, spitting or whatever it is kids do. Kids are weird, they do weird things, so. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. So first, for written authorization, you have to have permission for sunscreen. It usually is in your general permission. I think you guys have, I don't know if this is here with the paper, but you usually have a checklist and they sign every year that they are giving you permission for sunscreen. If they use a specific kind of sunscreen and they don't want to use the sunscreen you provide, you need to make sure their name and first and last name are on that sunscreen and that you mark down. Now, this is one thing I do see is nobody marks down when they put sunscreen on. Sunscreen has to be on every time you go outside, so I just would say you generally face street sunscreen applied at 9:25 a.m. Sunscreen applied at 12:20 a.m. But that's better. So if you guys do provide sunscreen, make sure your parents know what kind it is, the name of it. And again, children over 4 may apply sunscreen to themselves. That answers your question. They can do it themselves if they're over 4, but you guys have to be watching them. So what I used to do is put it on their arms, stay up here, rub it in, and then put it on their cheeks. And I always started getting in their eyes, so I think you guys can do that. So you guys don't have infants. Again, sunscreen is all year round, even in the winter. So remember that. And then the last thing is make sure that children are dressed appropriately for the weather going outside. My suggestion would be to have extra coats, shoes, extra socks, things like that, so kids can go outside. Food and nutrition.
I don't think we need to.
Yeah, I don't.
Miss too much.
No, I think because you guys have food people come in and they do all this, just make sure that your menus are posted and that if there's big changes, you guys write those changes down so parents are aware of that. And make sure you provide extra snacks. Some kids don't get enough food at home or they don't bring enough to eat. Make sure you guys feed your babies. That's a big deal. Okay. Playground issues. I like this question. So make sure your resilient material, pea gravel, wood chips, whatever it is you use, it is 6 inches deep under your fall zones. Sometimes the fun thing to do is get your kids little rakes, and if you notice, you can go, oh, look what we get to do. We're gonna rake pea gravel up, and they like to do it. So use them as green. I'm just kidding. Check the base of the slide. That's where the fall zones are underneath swings, things like that, to make sure it's 6 feet. So if there's ice on your playground, and sometimes I've seen it, where the frozen material's frozen, they can't go on equipment that has frozen underneath their equipment. So the S's, those little S's that connect the feet to their chain on the swing, make sure those are closed. If there's a gap, you need to get those closed, things like lanyards and, sweatshirt things. Oh, and Susan wants to say.
Okay, so for instance, I think facilities has replaced most of your as close to U-hooks. But when you guys see that they, are going out, that means that that S-hook has lost its integrity. So as that, string goes back and forth, it causes the wear on that S-hook and the hook to open. So at that point, those should be replaced, either with new S-hooks or most people have gone to the U-hooks.
What she said. And then rusted chains, of course, you need to make sure those are not rusted. If they are, like your facilities manager knows to make you can lose those. Loose ladders or parts. So I wanna try to see if I can. Well, I can't reach it, but if you know, see where the slide is and the thing and then the slide, right? And there's that little, so between there is like a little gap sometimes. If that gap is too big, you guys need to fill it with like, not you guys, whoever your maintenance people are, please make sure of that. I use the thing and I put it in there and if it fits in there, it's too big. So, make sure that's caught because, sweatshirts, things can get caught in there and cause the same. Make sure you have appropriate safety belts on, not just for, the ADA swings. Entanglement hazards like the slides pulling away, like I just mentioned, or anything in that kind of thing. Tripping hazards, weed barrier, that weed stuff that you guys put down underneath your hood checks or whatever, that shows tripping hazard. So make your clothes are not showing. Anything that can impel you. Oh, here's a good picture of the S. Does that make sense? Helmets are required for two-wheel scooters, two-wheel bikes, passenger bikes. And then make sure that you go out and do a safety check on your playground or trash, spider web, water. I've had places that have had snakes, places that have had used needles, dead animals, things like that, or live animals that should be there. So make sure you're doing that as well.
Was gonna say something and I forgot what I was gonna say. No, that's okay. Reporting to licensing, so anytime there's an injury, you want to report that to licensing. You will do that through the portal, so to speak, I believe to your health and safety manager. Or am I directing you guys to the right place? I think your health specialist helps with the injuries, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we make mistakes. Anyway, you need to report those injuries, within 24 hours of knowing that the child received medical treatment. So, lots of times, a kid will be playing and have gotten hurt a little bit. You don't see any specific injury at that moment in time. You've hopefully filled out an ACHS report and let the parent know that they fell down and had a wound. But then later to find out, maybe the next day or a couple of days later, the child broke their leg or they broke their foot or they broke their arm. At that point, that's when the injury report needs to be submitted. So make sure that you're in communication with your health team. Make sure that your director of the program knows that that injury has occurred so that they can make sure that proper documentation gets submitted. Make sure that you submit what happened accurately. It's really important that is again, it's a legal document. We want everything accurate. We want your story to be accurate. of what actually happened. If you don't know what happened, don't put what you think happened. Only put what you know to be true happened. We don't care about what you think. We only want the hard cold facts. Make sure that if there's any child separated from the group for any length of time, that you're reporting that as a lost child. Again, make sure your director knows about that. Make sure that your education supervisor knows about that. And anybody else that your, administration requires, because they have to put in formal documents to licensing. Depending on the situation, that may or may not need to be reported to social services. So we always want you in contact with us. If it does need to be reported to social services, we will let you know. The policies around that have changed a little bit, and not every incident has to be reported to social services. But it does need to be reported to licensing. And then if it's one of those more serious incidences, maybe where children have gotten off the property, or they've been gone for an extended period of time, then that may need to require social services as well. Any allegation of physical, sexual, or emotional abuse or neglect of a child that results in mandatory report to law enforcement or county department of social services. Again, we are all mandated reporters, so make sure that you understand your mandated reporting responsibilities and you're taking those really seriously. And report any concerns. The county will make the decision if a referral is accepted for assessment. If the referral is accepted for assessment, the county will come out and do an investigation. And then once they're done with their report, we will get notified and then licensing will come out as well. Sure.
So a lot of times, a parent will come and say, oh, my little Susie was hit by you. And the director said, oh, no, that would never happen. No, if a parent says, my little Susie was hit by one of my teachers, you just be quiet. You don't investigate yourself, you report it to social services, even if you think the allegation is not true. Because it's not our job to investigate, it's social services. So at the point where somebody says, I saw him hit a child, or my child was hit by him, don't say anything else. Call social services and make a report. And at that point, leave it alone. Don't go and investigate it, don't go talk to teachers, don't go talk to the child, just report it. I don't think you get children.
Is responded to by a local fire department needs to be reported. Any drug or alcohol related incident involving a staff member or a child that requires outside medical or emergency response needs to be reported. Any police or sheriff contact, and any damage to the facility, as a result of severe weather, flood, fire, mold, needs to be reported. You get that?
Yeah.
Accessible. What does accessible mean? I know you can read it, but can you guys in your own words, somebody wanna?
They can touch it.
Yeah, if the kids have access to it, it's accessible. So if it's way up high on the shelf and they can't get it, then it's not accessible. But if it's, a tall, everybody asks me, is this accessible? Like, well, show me your tallest kid. The answer changes depending on who's in this classroom. So, if your kids in your classroom can access that item, it's accessible. If it's a health and safety hazard, we want that removed. And then also at the same time, we want and supplies to to be at that level, and that's what it means. So kids need to be able to keep out of reach, not, intended for children under 3, not for children or use, or, only for adult use. Any of that verbiage has all the same meaning. It shouldn't be in reach of kiddos. Is this a health or licensing violation? So one, at the time of walkthrough, there was art that has food on it, noodles and rice. The art doesn't state do not eat or not for human consumption. I'm not really sure what they're trying to get at this. I didn't make this PowerPoint. Any food that could be a chokeable, you know, if it's hard, like a hard bean or whatever, is not intended for children under 3. Of course, if it's a cooked bean, it's fine. I think that's probably what they're trying to get at. At the time of the walkthrough, backpacks were on the floor, none in the cubbies, and personal items are touching. That's a health department issue. At the time of the walkthrough, there was a glass vase with flowers for Teacher Appreciation Week, sign on the table. So glass, no glass in preschool programs, unless you are a Montessori program and have a waiver for glass. Broken equipment on the playground, sandboxes had no lids with cat excrement visible in the sand. Right, licensing violation, yes. Yeah, well, I'm sure the health department has something to say about that too, but yeah, the sandbox needs to be covered. Sanitizer, in the room made with bleach tested below 50 ppm. That's the health department, they regulate that. The parent sign in out shows that 8 children are signed into the class, but only 6 are present. 7 are on the need to face transition log. Again, that's a licensing issue. You guys need to make sure that your need to faces are accurate. And you are documenting that through your transition. So when you're going to your playground, when you leave your classroom, you should be doing a name to face. When you get to the playground, you should be doing the name to face. When you leave the playground, you should be doing the name to face. When you get to the classroom, you should be doing a name to face. We don't want anybody left behind, and it happens all the time. And just like Brittany said, counting doesn't work. We've been shown time and time again, kids get double counted. Kids from other groups get counted. Kids, you know, just the other child that got counted walks away. You always have to do the name to face and making sure that you have the right kids that you're supposed to have. So, what questions do you guys have for us? I know there's some
Yes, she
questions out there.
I do have one.
I do have one, and it was about the jackets and having some available, and we do. But some kids refuse to wear them. What if you were to walk in and there's a kid outside without a jacket, that they refuse, and we can't force them either? I mean, you would ask us and then we can tell you the story behind it, or?
Yes, we don't, nothing.
Okay,
We don't check to make sure that they're wearing what they're are supposed to be wearing. Kids have their own autonomy. We want to respect that. I mean, you should have the gear for them to be, you know, have what they need, you know, if it's raining or, whatever, it's snowing outside. You know, if it's 32 degrees out, I would say that they shouldn't be in shorts outside. But, your idea of, all kids don't want to wear their coats. If they don't want to wear it, they don't have to. We can't force them to wear their coats.
I think that would be more of an extreme situation, like it was snowing and I saw a kid barefoot outside, I'd be like, that's an issue.
Yeah.
when the safety of the kid is coming into handle, then there might be a conversation there, but short of that, they have their own bodily autonomy.
I think that's the best way of doing all of these rules is we're in the business of all of us keeping our kids safe and healthy. So when in doubt, think of that as is keeping my children in my care safe and healthy. And that's kind of where we all come from, as partners. Any others?
Any other pressing question about a certain rule or confusion? I think we got the sunscreen settled. It's pretty sure there was an age attached to it. So after 4 years old, they can apply sunscreen.
Again, probably have them wash their hands after that. You can squirt it in their hands so they can rub it themselves on them. Any others? Uh-huh.
Every day.
Do you have to take them off every day? No, you don't have to take them off every day. Yes, they have to be laundered once a week. Again, that's a health department thing, but, I think normally you guys sanitize them every day. But that's your own facility doing that.
Lindsay, it's snack time. Parents come and pick up. And they pick up with their kids. They're eating snacks and, we're not allowed to let them go with their snack.
What?
And so we are allowed.
That's not a licensing concern.
Yeah.
So you need to follow your own programmatic advice. I know a lot with the food program and stuff, they don't let that food to go outside. But I would go to your health and nutrition specialist and have them answer that question, but that is not a licensing concern. But your program may say, no, we don't want them leaving with that food. And if that's the case, that's what you need to follow. Any other questions? So again, I mean, thank you for that question, because that's a perfect example of where licensing may say, that's not a problem, but other agencies may say it's a problem. The food program may say it's a problem, or your agency may say it's a problem. Follow the direction that your administration's been given. Perfect example of getting different answers. None of those answers are wrong, right? Doesn't mean that they're wrong.
You want me to reference them? Or you can?
I just want clarification, if it is allowed to leave the pillow and blanket on top of the cots, because our cots they are able to stack, so are we allowed, not allowed?
Again, not a licensing rule or reg. So I'm gonna defer to the health department to ask that question too, but in licensing, that's not addressed. So I'm not gonna step on other agencies' toes. Ask them again, if your administration is saying, put your pillows over here, or, do whatever, follow your administration. Anybody else? Because that's what's the hard part in all of this, right? I've been at the ground floor too, and it sucks when you get different answers from different people. And Brittany will attest to this too. We do too in our jobs. Last week you said this, and so said this, and it's hard to keep track. But your administration is really trying to do their best in managing a lot of different regulations from different agencies. And so just because I'm saying licensing doesn't address it, doesn't mean that it's not addressed.
For my providers, I highly would encourage you to ask me. My job is to answer questions, so if you need to know an answer, just ask me. That's what we're here for. I'd rather you ask and quote bother me, it doesn't bother me, than not know. So please ask. And then also, if you don't understand a rule that you're being cited for, or if you think we're too harsh, we can explain the rule, we can discuss it. Neither one of us are just black and white, nope, that's what the rule says. We will explain it. And if you don't agree, you're allowed to appeal it. So just remember, we try to be fair, we try to talk to you guys about it, but if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I would rather you ask than not and just do something when it's not right.
Any other questions, concerns? Things you always want to ask? Everybody getting on PDIS okay? Are you understanding how that works?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
You know, it had. Maybe you can help us address this too. You know, we're level 4 for all our centers because we went through the.
Yeah.
Head Start, and we did that 5 years ago. It's up in this October. And I started that process, but what I've seen is that we don't have our staff register on PDIS associated with the centers. And we need that before we can get that. Can you talk about that?
I sure can. So, again, help your administration out. Please, it helps us all out. So when you guys go onto your PDIS accounts, number one, just a little bit of advice, do not put your PDIS account under your work email. It should be under your own personal email. This is your career, not your works, okay? Your training is your training, not your work. So we want you to have access to your account once you've left your employment. It moves with you. One, fix that if you haven't done that. Two, make sure under the employment section, you have your Head Start agency selected. And then your director of your program needs to work with your licensing specialist and have them verify. So all you directors and working in those classrooms, you need to be verified as the director through PBIS, and your licensing specialist verifies that. And then, once your director is verified, then your director verifies all the employees at that center. You also, as admin, can get, access, so probably your ed supervisor, should have administrative rights. 3 administrators can be on the account. And then they can check your, make sure that your background checks, in the system. They can look at your trainings and assign training so that they can monitor when, shaken babies do, or when, child abuse and neglect is due. They can assign those trainings to you and it'll shoot you an email. And then that just helps them, for when we do our visit to make sure you guys have all the trainings in the system. The state is working, all the time to improve PDIS and, create more functionality for all of us. It's made all of our jobs a lot more easier. But it takes a lot of work from you guys too, and it starts by you selecting your employer in your work history and attaching yourself to that license. And then your end team and people can assign your trainings and stuff.
That's also how you get a tax credit.
Yeah, so you guys, y'all get a tax credit for working in the field of early childhood. And you have to have your credential to get that. So make sure you're taking advantage, and that's cash in your pocket. If you're lucky enough not to pay any taxes and you have no taxes due, and you apply for the tax credit, you get that $1,500 or $1,800, you get a refund, even if you didn't have to pay taxes. So, that's how that all is validated and, how you get it. So, make sure you're taking, that tax credit maintenance. So
It doesn't
good question. It's,
say
I
specific.
don't have an
Your
answer
tax
to that.
person would have a better answer to that.
Yeah, your tax person to check the legislation. I think it's more for teaching, like, I don't get it, unfortunately. But, teaching staff does. Yeah, I don't think cooks or maintenance, but I'm with your tax advisor.
So I will be working on that next few weeks. Gabby, we're gonna talk about that, but, anybody that is under licensing would need to find the center that you're associated with when you go on PS, find the center, associate yourself to that, and then the director can accept them. So we really need to do that in order to get our new, level 4, because it's due soon. I think that might be.
And managers, anything you really want to make sure I address? Yeah.
Amy,
Okay, this is something that has come up and something that I'm working on. But, I wanna know, like, for the center directors, the people that we have on file in our centers, what is their responsibilities?
So,
I don't know.
Brittany, maybe you can pull this up because I don't have the rule committed to memory. So the governing body is to assign a director to the center, and they need to know the operations of that center. So in rule, they're supposed to help in developing the policies and procedures. They're supposed to be involved in the help in the hiring. They're supposed to be making sure that all licensing rules and regs are followed and adhered to.
They also,
Head Starts operate a little bit differently, and you guys all have managers that kind of oversee each one of your divisions. And licensing gets that, and we know that. But it's still ultimately the director's responsibility to ensure that all licensing rules and regs are known. And as licensing specialists, we go to the director to ask them what happened. So if they don't know that an injury has taken place, or they haven't made sure that documentation has been done, then we're like, who knows what's going on? Those directors need to know what's going on in those buildings because they can lose their director license if things go wrong and they didn't know what was going on and didn't make sure X, Y, and Z was covered. So I think it's always, I certainly don't want to step on your guys' own administrative chain of command. But the directors still need to be looped in and know what's going on in those centers because they're ultimately the ones that are gonna lose their letter if something bad happens and they didn't know about it or they didn't make sure that it was going. So that director can delegate, right, any responsibility to anybody else. And so there may be in your guys' situation, a lot of delegations, but they at least need to know and be on the loop of what's going on.
and it's also my understanding, if you're entitled director, you have to have those 2 additional things. So you guys have to have early intervention and things like that, but the directors have to have 2 additional things for that. And they have to be there 60% of the day.
So that's the mental health consultant. full trainings that directors need to have. So you guys are a little bit different, right? We need to be respectful of everybody, but we also need to be respectful of those directors and your guys' programs and make sure that they know what's going on, because their director letters are on the line. Is that it?
Amy, do you have further questions? Okay,
There was a question about the 10 maybe, and one of you guys emailed me about it, and that only applies to school districts.
Oh, if we could follow this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and your guys', I get that your guys' system is kind of set up that way, you know, but unfortunately, and I re-clarified before I came out here that that only applies to school districts.
Okay. So we're, as supervisors, we're not there 60% of the day.
Okay.
Like, daily operations, the hiring, all of that stuff, but our center directors are the ones that are there 60% of the time.
Right, and that's why they need to know what's going on. So, we get that, that is your ed managers and that's their role, and that may be internally what you guys do. But we just want to make sure that those center directors, know, and I know that they work in the classrooms, typically the center directors, which is fine. They can work in the classrooms, but they need to be able to be, when they need to do their director duty, like when I come for a licensing visit, there needs to be the ability for them to step out of the classroom and somebody qualified to step in for them to handle those director duties. So when, you know, an incident happens that may be being handled by, you know, HR, which is fine. I don't want to say that they need to wear the hat of HR, but that she knows at least to so-and-so direct me to the person that is in the know. And there's that accountability, and there's that, chain of command, or, you know, it's not, you know, I don't know who does that. I don't know who does that. I don't know. He's gotta know who's responsible, and then that person needs to have the detail. And that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you for your
I just, on a personal note, I, just really love Adams County Head Start, and I'm not supposed to say that. You guys have been here a year. I've worked with a lot of you guys for over 13 years. I've grown up with many of you. I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. You guys do such a wonderful job. You're all hard workers. Thank you for keeping Colorado's kids safe. Please partner with us. We're here to have your back, but also hold you accountable. And in the end, keeping those kids safe. So thank you.
I think we can keep you a couple of more hours and just pick the rain, but maybe we can find another time. So we'd love to, since we'll have you here. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here.
Give me a second.
All right, no, that's fine. So I just wanted to